Hi, it's Lipstick Gal. Thank you so much for watching today. I've got a busy day ahead of me and I got to get ready really quick. I thought we could do it together. I hope you're doing well. I have been really busy. I was kind of hoping that spring would slow down a little bit, but we've had kind of like a super busy week. And here's hoping that things slow down a little bit next week because I am ready for a little bit of a break. Okay, I'm going to start by jumping into my Salt New York palette. I picked up some things recently from Salt New York that I hadn't tried before, and they're not new. It's just that I hadn't been trying my Salt New York stuff. So in my palette, I have the concealer, the Sneaky Balm. This is the corrector. I have a bronzer, a highlight, and 3 blushes. I think that these 2 here were limited edition blushes from a couple years ago, but I'm probably going to use these guys right here, and I'm going to start with this. This is the corrector. I think this is the one that is kind of like the lightest shade. That's usually what I do, and I love that this palette basically is just, like use your fingers. Like I mentioned, we've had a really busy week. My husband and I had to go and drive all the way to Portland, well, beyond that, to Beaverton to pick up a new vehicle. It's not new, it's new to us. And it was an absolute disaster. Like, it started out great. The day starts out, my husband gets up early. He works from home. He has meetings that he has to do before we leave. And so by the time we get in the car, it's 9 o'clock. And it's a 4-hour drive to Portland, a 4.5-hour drive to Beaverton, where the dealership is located at that we're getting the car from. My husband had been looking specifically. Oh, I like the way this is working. Even this on its own works really well. He's specifically been looking for an electric vehicle. And they had the exact vehicle that he wanted, and it was the closest one there was. So we decided to do everything ahead of time. We went to our local bank. We got our car loan all situated. We had checks in hand. We were on the go, ready, just like everything's great. We had a real nice drive out there, and it's great because when you're in the car with your spouse, it's like a captive audience. We got to talk about all the stuff that we never really get a chance to talk about. Let me put a little bit of this corrector over my hyperpigmentation spots. And then I'm going to go into the Sneaky Balm, which is kind of like their balm foundation product. And then I'll finish up with a little bit of the concealer. So this is the Sneaky Balm. This I think is also in the lightest shade. We're driving over. We have a great time. We're chatting and things are going really well. It's a beautiful drive. Got some beautiful photos of driving down the Columbia River through the gorge, and it was just fantastic. And when we get to the dealership, you know how they always try and convince you to do things that you don't like. Do you want the extended warranty? Do you want to upgrade to like satellite radio? Do you like, I'm just like, no, I don't want anything but the car. That's all I want. And we were trying to tell them this, like, well, we have to. I'm like, okay, fine. So we'll sit here, we'll listen. And we got there at 1:30 in the afternoon. So by the time we get there, it wasn't until 4 where they're like, okay, let's get all the paperwork and let's sign everything. And as they pull out the paperwork, I couldn't believe it took them that long. We hit a snafu, and it was a surprising snafu. And the snafu was there is a $4,000 tax credit, federal tax credit, that the IRS will give you right at the dealership if you have not claimed that tax credit before. And you can claim it once every 3 years for an electric vehicle. And we're like, great, let's do that. Well, last year, my husband claimed it. And so I was going to be the one to claim it this year. And the names on the loan were my husband's name first and mine second. And I didn't think that would have anything to do with it, but it would have to be my name first and then his. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It turned out to be a whole thing. So our local bank is specific to where we live in Washington, and we're in Oregon, 4.5 hours away from home. And we called the bank, and the bank's like, well, you'd have to find a local branch, have them like undo the previous loan and redo the loan again. So we left at 4 o'clock and drove an hour in traffic because it's normally like a 25-minute drive to the local branch. But it was traffic and it was terrible. And we saw a car accident, like all the things that you would expect in the big city. Anyway, made it to this branch in Portland. We were able to go through and we got in at 5 o'clock on the dot. They closed at 5:30. And the guy who was helping us with our loan, he was the best. His name was Ben. I still need to like write a thank you email to him and to his supervisor because we walked in there at 5. We had been on the phone with somebody else from that same bank, but at a different branch. They had called ahead. They had kind of paved the way for us. And when we walked in, Ben's like, "Hey, I'm Ben. I'm here to help you today." And he could tell it was that we were the people who were having problems with the car loan just because we needed the names flipped. Anyway, so he stayed until 6:30. He walked us out the door at 6:30, an hour after the bank was supposed to have closed, to fix everything for us. And so we sat there for an hour and a half while he basically went and undid the loan, and then redid all the loan paperwork, and we signed everything again. And then we made it back to the dealership 40 minutes before they closed at 8 p.m. We got there and I was so glad. My husband called while we were driving back and he's like, "Hey, we have the paperwork. Can you run all the paperwork and have everything ready to be signed? Because we've already gone through and we've said that we don't want all of the warranties and all the other things." We walked in, signed papers, and 10 minutes later we were out the door. I was like, why couldn't we have done that the first time? Why did it take so long? Okay, I like the way this is looking. Let's do some of the concealer. This concealer is much higher coverage. Ooh, look at that. Than the Sneaky Balm. The Sneaky Balm looks like hardly anything. But this concealer definitely gives a lot more coverage. So at the time we finally got on the road, it was 7:40 p.m. It was such a long day. And at that point, we still had a 4.5-hour drive home without having to stop to charge the vehicle. And the vehicle did not have enough range on it to get all the way home, especially in kind of like the slowing down, speeding up, sometimes the stop and go traffic in Portland. The battery had kind of been drained just enough to be like, okay, we're gonna have to stop here and charge up, and we're gonna have to stop here and charge up to make it all the way home. This vehicle is supposed to be our around town car. It's not supposed to be like we're doing any massive travels in it, but I was kind of expecting my husband to pick up the electric vehicle closer to home. Anyway, long story short, we didn't make it home until 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning. I was so tired the next day. I was so tired. I could not believe how exhausted I was. And I realized the older I get, the more like staying up till 2 in the morning just completely wipes me out. So I really like the way this looks. I haven't used my Salt New York stuff in a long time, but I bought these 3 new pans, the corrector, concealer, and the Sneaky Balm. And I really like the way it looks on my skin. It looks really pretty. I'm getting a little settling underneath the eye, but it's not bad. I am going to put on just a touch of powder, but I'm going to keep going with my cream products first. So this is the lightest bronzer from Salt New York. And I'm just going to take it and bronze up my face just a little bit. I could do it with my fingers, but I feel like I want to be just a little bit more precise. And using this angled brush from BK, this is the 109. I really like the size of this brush. I also like how densely packed it is. So I was planning on having a video on Wednesday this week, and my husband told me on Monday, he's like, "Hey, they've got the car ready. We've got the car loan ready. Let's drive out tomorrow." And I am not, there have been times in the past where I've been like on the ball and had things videoed ahead of time. And recently, since I've been so tired, I just haven't. I have been barely just eking out videos when I need to have them on. And so I was planning on recording on Tuesday, but we were on the road all day. So sorry we missed this last Wednesday. But I feel like I should be home for the next while, and it should be really good. All right, I'm going to take another brush from BK Beauty. This is the 106. This is one that I use for cream blush, and I'm just going to go into the shade Rose and give myself just a little bit of color. This is my favorite shade that I have from Salt New York. It's such a pretty, easy, everyday blush shade, and I love that. A little bit of the highlight in Pearl. Just going to share this on some fingers and tap, tap, tap. Man, this stuff is so easy to use. If you've never tried Salt New York, I like the fact that they have really beautiful packaging. This reusable magnetized palette is fantastic. It has a magnetic closure to it as well as the zipper. There's a mirror on the inside, and then you can put several pans in here. They also make, like, if you're worried that these pans aren't big enough, the concealer pan is huge. But the other thing that I like is here's the concealer pan, and you can see the depth of the foundation pan is actually bigger. You can get a larger size of the foundation if you're thinking, you know, that a regular pan is not going to be enough or you're going to burn through it. You can get twice as much. I really like that, so I got the bigger one. But I really feel like it looks really natural and really pretty. Okay, let me quickly just put a little bit of powder. I'm going to reach for my portrait mode. And we're going to put a little bit underneath the eyes. So my kids have been really busy. One of them is at a golf tournament today. My oldest is at a golf tournament. She also recently got back from a school trip, part of spring break for her. And then part of the week after was being in an educational trip to Costa Rica with the school she goes to. And it was really awesome. They did a lot of snorkeling. They looked at a lot of plant life, and they went with their biology teacher. So it was one of those where, you know, of course, there's a lot of flora and fauna. And the kids loved it. But she was like, Mom, the best thing ever they were camping on the beach. And she says, I kept finding these little tiny coconut crabs that would get somehow, even though everything was zipped up, they would get into our tents, and so I'm having to pick them up and put them outside. And she goes, and all the other girls are screaming like, ah. She's like, Mom, this is so cute, it's just a little tiny coconut crab. She sent us a picture of her holding a grasshopper that was as long as her hand. And she's starting to name it. Look, this is Ramon, this is Enrique, and, you know, pictures with sloths. She had the best time. The absolute best time. But me, nervous Nelly mom, was like, okay, my kid's on a school trip without me in a foreign country where she doesn't speak the language. And I was so worried. The one thing that she did say was that she felt like she did a little bit better. I don't speak really good Spanish. I can get through a conversation if I have to, and I understand almost everything. But my kids are pretty bad. I hate to say that. I did not pass along my knowledge of Spanish to the kids the way that I had hoped to. I tried when they were little, you know, reading books in Spanish, watching shows in Spanish, singing songs in Spanish, and they would look at me and go, Mommy, English. And pretty soon it was just too tough to try to keep doing the same thing with them not being excited. Let me put a quick eye on. You know what I'm going to reach for? This. I had to get a new one because my other shade in Bianca, this is the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lorex. The shade that I had in Bianca was all dried out. I'd had it for too long, so it's my favorite one. So I ordered a brand new one from Space NK. They recently had a 20% off on everything, including Lisa Eldridge stuff. And I was like, yeah, I think we'll do that. Anyway, so Ava learned Spanish at school. And of course, when she was taking Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, I was helping her. And I do speak Spanish here at home, but what really helps is when my parents come to visit. My mom is Chicana, so California with Mexican roots. My grandparents were Mexican, and grew up in a home where they spoke more Spanish than English. And my mom had to learn how to speak English when, like, the first day of school. That was like, okay, we're speaking English. And it's so interesting because so much of that got lost because none of the rest of my cousins who are the same generation as me really speak Spanish, even though their parents do. Thankfully for me, my dad, even though he's not Mexican, he loves Spanish. And he's the reason that we spent 2 years in Spain when I was a kid. And so loves Spanish culture, loves the language. And so he and my mom speak it all the time. And with them speaking it now in front of my kids, Ava's at the point now where she's understanding so much of it. It's just the getting the words out is hard for her. But she said that when she was in Costa Rica, the good part was nobody ever expected her to understand. And she understood, you know, she said at least 65 to 70% of what was being said around her. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad. So she's getting there. And I think that she's the one out of both my kids who's going to have a bee in her bonnet for really getting to know the language. Here's hoping that she gets to be at least at the same level that I'm at, because my Spanish is not very good, but it gets me through when I need it. And I can travel by myself in a Spanish speaking country and be just fine. All I need now is a lippy. And I'm really excited to try some new shades today from Revie. I got a box from them and they wrote me this beautiful little note. It's so amazing. It says, Rebecca, welcome to the Revie family. We're so happy you're here. Our mission is to make beauty approachable, delightful, and effortless. We hope you love Effortless lips. It has the comfort of a balm, the buildable pigment of a lipstick, and the shine of a gloss. Enjoy. The Revie Beauty team. And I was like, oh, I love. They sent me a bag, and in the bag are 3 lipsticks. I am so excited because these are bright, bold, punchy colors. I'm going to start with the lightest shade they sent. This one is the shade Dahlia. This is such a pretty, wearable, everyday pink shade. I love the texture of these. This is one of those that I thought I had, and maybe one of my kids kidnapped it, but like everybody in my house loves this formula because it is basically, feels like a balm, but wears beautifully, does not leave my vermilion border. It's just the best. And I love how they come in these really slimline little packages. Here's Dahlia. This is what it looks like. Beautiful. Next shade I'm trying is Poppy. Oh, this kind of goes with my nails. I love this. I'm usually afraid of orange lipsticks, and I wouldn't say that this is like orangey orange, but it kind of has that orange lean to it. But because it has that sheer quality to it, you can still see the natural pigment of my lips coming through, and it looks really beautiful. There's just enough color so that you can tell that it is a warmer, almost like a sheer tangerine shade. I really, really like that, but it is so pretty and easy on the lips. This is going to be a new favorite shade for spring and summer. Last shade I have to try is called Tulip. This one looks stunning. Oh, so pretty. Here's Tulip. This is a much brighter shade than Dahlia, but it still doesn't look like it's just like boom in your face. Oh, I'm super excited about this shade in Tulip. So beautiful. So thank you so much to Revie Beauty for sending these 3 my way. I am super excited about the 2 that I had not tried, Poppy and Tulip. But Tulip, I think this one here is going to be the one that is going to go with me today. I just put it in my pants pocket. I don't want to forget it. And these are really easy to wear. They're the sort of lip product I can throw on without a mirror. I don't have to have my mirror in front of me, you know, all the time to put it on. I can just throw it on and go. And it does nourish like a balm. It wears like a lipstick, and it has a really beautiful shine and texture on the lips. My favorite part about this is that I have not noticed that these leave my vermilion border. My experience is that these stay exactly where I put them, even though they do have that really nice, luxurious, kind of cushy quality, a nice slip and shine to them. They don't just melt and go everywhere, which is so fantastic. I'm really, really wanting the red in this formula, so I'm going to probably go and pick up the shade Rose, which is their classic red shade, because that seems like the epitome of what I'm always looking for in a red. First of all, that it's red. Second of all, I want it to stay where I put it and not go places. That's what this formula does. I want it to be easy to wear, what I call a low maintenance red. And this has all the hallmarks. It ticks all the boxes for me for low maintenance lipstick. So if you're curious and looking for your perfect shade of everyday lipstick, your favorite color may not be red. It may be kind of like a soft pink. You would like the shade Lily. Or maybe you're looking for a brown. They just came out with new shades. There's a peach and some deeper shades. They look so beautiful. I may have to pick up another couple of these because this formula is really, really really spectacular. Hey, thanks so much for watching today. Here's where I want to know how you're doing. What's going on in your life? Anything exciting going on? Anything keeping you up late? Anything taking you outside of your normal areas? Are you doing some traveling? Let me know in the comment section down below. Also, let me know, have you tried much from Salt, New York? Is that a brand that interests you? Are you a Revie Beauty fan? And what are your kind of go-to makeup ideas on days like today for me when I need to get ready, but I gotta go. I don't have time, for eyeliner. I don't have time for like a multiple eyeshadow look. I just want a bare, basic, but pretty look for the day. What products do you reach for on a day like that? Thanks again for making the time to watch. Have an incredible day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.